So going into the leaves, I want you to grab a green, and this grassy green is a great one to start with. So I'm just going to be looking at the different shapes of the leaves. I have a lot of curved lines connecting into angled lines here, these almost heart-like shapes for the monstera leaves, and some circles down here. So just filling in a lot of the foliage, the greenery. So the first one that sticks out to me is this big leaf on the left here, and it's right underneath the lilac. So you're just going to add some curved lines here. It almost looks like a heart. I have another one of these shapes on the right side, and it's hiding behind the goldfish bowl. And I'm just going to start to fill in all of the space with these leaves. So many curved lines connecting to make these almond shapes. And don't worry about colors crossing over, because the nice thing about oil pastel is it's very opaque, meaning it's really easy to be able to, blend the colors and layer them on top of each other. Next, moving up, I'm just going to add some more of these really beautiful leaves and plants, and some circles. So don't worry about putting them in the exact same place. The main lesson for today is more about using lines to create shapes and then color. So as an artist, he was one of the key leaders of Fauvism, which was a really radical art movement where they reinterpreted color as an expressive element. And one famous quote that Matisse has is, "When I put down a green, it doesn't mean grass, and when I put down a blue, it doesn't mean sky." So for him, just changing his relationship to certain colors, a lot of the times, when we're little, we'll think that if I'm going to draw a sun, I'm going to use bright yellow, and if I'm going to draw nighttime, I'm going to use black. But when you really think about the colors of the sun or the night, you get many different colors depending on the day, depending on where you are in the world. And so really focusing on that and thinking about how you can choose your colors more wisely. So we're already starting to get his beautiful patterning and, great pops of color. And we're just mapping everything out right now. This leaf up here is a really bright green, almost like a lime green, so you can go ahead and switch over to your lime green color here. It's called yellow green. And this leaf also has a lot of yellow in it, so we can do the outline in our lime green and then go back and add some yellow on top. So we have a beautiful arrangement so far. And then the next big pop of color that we see is the goldfish. So go ahead and grab your orange. So we have 4 goldfish, and then we also have a little bit of their reflection. So this is a great use of color because it shows us what kind of material is in the bowl. So we know that water is reflective, and so we see the reflection from the goldfish bouncing up to the top of the water. So we can start out by just doing the simple shape of the fish. I'm going to start with this one in the middle, start with an oval shape, and then I can add a little tail with 2 angled lines. Same thing for the one underneath him. He's a little bit longer. This one's peeking out from under. You can do a curved line and a little tail, and one more on the left. So go ahead and you can fill these goldfish in. So just using your oil pastel, kind of fill in the area that you've mapped out. And then we can add the little tiny fins. So I see one on the bottom left, one above his head and his, and then two on either side of his head. So just with a few little simple shapes, we get the feeling of a goldfish. And then these blobs above, you can just kind of scribble to add that color. Okay, great. So that's it for that orange. And then let's see, we're just gonna start moving through the different colors as they are in the color wheel. So next to orange, we can go to yellow. So I see this really bright, it's like a golden yellow. So you can just go ahead and grab, this one's called chrome yellow. And we have this bright yellow around the top here. When you're using your oil pastels, it's great to mix the colors together. I would try to avoid getting too close to the black, because when you mix, when the black touches the yellow, I'll show you, it gets a little bit muddy. So if you like that look, that's fine, but if you want to keep it pretty clean, you can just kind of leave a little border. As you can see, he left some white areas on his canvas. And then if your oil pastel does get dirty, like this one here, you can always just use a scrap paper. Okay. I always like to have a scrap paper handy, and you can just wipe off the top edge and get rid of all of the dirty colors that mix together with it. So now the top of my oil pastel is clean. So I'm going to add this wherever I see this color. So feel free to follow along if you like to do it like the original. If you want to add your own colors and experiment with your own color mixtures, that's totally cool too. You can do that as well. So I'm just looking, almost like a puzzle. I'm looking for any areas that I see this color. I see a stripe of it down the middle of this leaf, and the one above it, it's pretty golden yellow here in these leaves. And this is nice because when you start mixing, you can mix the little edge of the green, the lime green, with the yellow, and then it'll mix together to get you a brighter green. I also see some hints of it inside this leaf, and we'll come back and do some color mixture after, but you can go ahead and color in this leaf. And I see a little tiny bit just right here, you see that, in the pollen of the flower. So you can just do a few marks of that in the top right. And also some yellow, it's mixed together with green, but I also see some in these green leaves down here. They almost look like lily pads or something. Okay. So we're just building up the color layer by layer. Great. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is, let's see, let's add some more green, just fill in the areas that we have. So you can kind of go between this green, the grassy green, and for areas like, you know, that's pretty close, and for areas that are lighter, you can use the lime green. And so just start to fill those in. This one, I took the wrapper off, and you can do that. If you need to ask your parents for help, you can. You just kind of slide your finger in here in the wrapper, and then it will come off. But the nice thing about taking the wrapper off is you can use it flat. So this is using it flat. I'm using the entire flat surface versus just using the tip. The tip you can get a little bit more control, but the flat side you can fill in areas more quickly. So I want you guys to try both techniques using the flat side and the tip where it's pointing towards the ceiling. And we're just going to fill this entire area in. When you get to these areas with the yellow, see this? It's a pretty strong line of yellow, so I'm just going to go around that line and leave it pretty empty. But the other ones kind of mix together, so for those you can even go right on top, and then when you add the green on top of the yellow, you'll still get a little bit of the yellow, but you're getting some more color mixture. So that one's really great for, you know, practicing the way that the colors interact with each other. So different colors will look different when you place them next to other colors. So I want you guys to also pay attention to that. So I'm just continuing to fill in all of the leaves, all of the green area I see. And notice how he uses green as almost a frame, you know, it's kind of moving our eye around the whole entire piece. We can see this composition coming together, being framed by all of these details of little leaves and green. And since Matisse wasn't very precise, you know, he had a very strong style, it wasn't super realistic. The nice thing about that is we can work really quickly. It's called attacking the canvas. So usually artists will paint on a canvas material. Today we're just drawing on our paper, but what they mean by attack the canvas is to go really quickly, you know, use a lot of energy when you're adding your colors and fill it in so that you can get a lot done in a short amount of time. So each week we're focusing on a different artist, and each artist has their own style. They also have their own process. So his process is very fast, very intuitive, meaning he would just choose colors as he would go and, you know, just start to fill his entire canvas. So for these big leaves, the heart-shaped leaves, I chose to use a lime green. So this is a really bright green. It's called, again, it's called yellow green. And I'm just going right on top of the yellow that I've added to the leaf, and then it's mixing together to get a different color. It might happen where, you know, you go so quickly and you're pressing so hard that you get these little specks of the oil pastel. That's fine. You can just wipe it on the side of your paper and then it'll remove it really quickly. You can also even use them if you like how thick it looks, you like the texture of it, you can use it with your finger and start to add it on top. It's just like, they say it's like icing on a cake. So just adding that thick texture, which is very similar to oil paint. So in the top right corner we have tons of little green dots, but I also see some blue in here. See right there? When you look really closely, the blue is also kind of playing around with the green. So after you filled in your green, you can grab a blue. I'm going to use this really light blue here. It's called pale blue. And start to do dots of color. So dots, again, you're going to do a circle and then you're going to fill it in. You can even have some of the blue mixing with the green, like I see some beautiful color mixtures there with the pale blue mixing with our grassy green. Just adds another color mixture and patterning to our painting. And the cool thing is when you're focused on one color, you know, I'm zooming in on one color, I start to see it emerge in different areas and really see how Matisse used it to make our eye go around. So I'm done doing the little dots of blue over here, and I see a little blue on the rim of the goldfish bowl. So I'm going to do a curved line there, and then it hops over onto the chair. So I'm going to go ahead and map out that chair. So I'm going to do this long curved line curving down. You can also layer it right on top of the purple and you'll get a really pretty color mixture too. Okay, and then I have some white space in between. There's a white line running parallel, so running right next to it. And as you can see, you know, his lines aren't super defined. They're kind of just, they look like, you know, a little wobbly, which adds to the charm of his piece. And then I see these curved lines creating this kind of wicker pattern. So from the bottom, I'm going to do curved lines curving up. And if you point, you know, the edge of your oil pastel down, you can get a more thick line. So I'm doing these thick blue curved lines to create the pattern of the chair. All right, beautiful. I see this blue right here inside the area that we outlined with our black. I also see some green, so you can start out with your blue and then you can add some green on top. And this green, it's a minty green, so you can use this one. It's called pale green. Go right on top and mix the colors together and you'll get some areas that are going to change in color a little bit. Okay. I also see this blue now that I'm looking. I also see the blue a little bit where the goldfish are. So that's kind of mixed in between, and when you mix the blue and the yellow together, you get that green. So that's what we're looking for. All right. And then lastly, I see just a hint of blue hiding underneath the mossy green here. So you can do some diagonal straight lines coming in from the right side towards your table here to add another color. Okay, great. So it's really coming together. So we have all of the warmer yellow and orange. We also have the greens and blues. What we're missing is the lilac, the little pops of pink and fuchsia for the flowers, and then the black, which really kind of like frames the entire piece here. We have a lot of white right now, and the black really darkens it, so it creates more contrast. So what we're going to start with is the purple, so the lilac color. So that we can actually do a mixture. You can start out with this, if you're following along with the Pentel, it's called Old Rose. It's like this dusty pink color right there. And I'm just going to use this to add to the background. So right here, and I like to just place my hand down so my paper doesn't move too much. You can just start to brush this on, and I'm not pressing super hard because I actually like the texture of it. Let me zoom in to show you. The texture is kind of rough, but it creates a really cool effect with the background. So just adding this right behind the green, and it's okay if the green mixes in a little bit. That also helps to, you know, change the color slightly to a little bit of a cooler color. So we're just continuing to build it up in layers, and then the next area is the table. So this you can do really, you know, just working around, and when you look closely at this painting, there's some really beautiful brush strokes. So you can see all of the different areas where you get some texture. So texture is the way something feels. So it's very textured here, and we can see his marks on the piece. So you can just use that and brush on the Old Rose color. Right now this color is a little bit too pink, so what we can do to make it cooler is add a cooler tone. So we're going to use blue on top to push it back a little bit. Actually, we can use a little bit of purple. Okay. Alright. So the purple that we can grab is this one, the violet, which we started with. So just use that really lightly, go on top, and mostly a lot of it in here, just kind of mixing the colors together. And again, it's still pretty warm, you can tell the difference. So what we can do to make it cooler is add some gray. So there's different types of gray. So we're gonna go with this really light gray here. And that's going to really bring all the colors together for the focal point of the table. So it's good to know, you know, it's great learning all the color mixtures, because you can probably find a color like this from a tube if you're using paint, or from, you know, your palette, your colored pencils, or your oil pastels. But it's also nice to know that you can also mix colors and create your own colors too. Okay, so that's good. And then let's go into the color for the flowers. So right now it's pretty green in the background, but we want to bring those bright pops of purple and fuchsia forward. So that color that we're going to use, we're going to go with purple. And these you can do just really thick lines, so when you look really closely, you can see that we have some beautiful marks here, so just thick little curved lines. So think of each line as a petal. And it's beautiful when the colors mix together too. So you can do as many of those flower petals as you'd like, filling in the right side of our composition of our piece. And then I want to hop down and add some pinks in the bottom. So you know the green works all the way around, and then the purples kind of frame the piece again, so bring them in again. So that pink is a really bright pink. Yeah, I'm gonna go with this one, pink. And those you can just do little tiny dots to add some flower petals into there. Okay, great. So we have a beautiful composition. We've added many different lines and dots, curved lines, lots of different shapes here for our Matisse piece. And the main difference now is to add the black. So right now it's very bright and white. But he wanted to add more of a darker background to really bring the other colors forward. So we are going to add some black, and it's definitely nice if you take the cover off. That way you can use the flat side and fill it in pretty quickly. But if you want, you can also just go in and outline the areas, the shapes that you'd like to add this color, and then fill it in. And if you don't like the black, if you like yours white, that's fine too. You can leave it as is, because many artists, Matisse included, would try multiple versions of a painting or an artwork. So maybe he had a version that was white background, but then he decided, I want to add some black. So you can also decide as the artist making this piece what you like and what your style is. So just continuing to add all of this black until you get a nice piece. So that's it for today. I hope you guys really enjoyed learning about one of many Matisse styles, and really just looking at his work as a way to change your relationship to colors, and be able to see so many different patterns, shapes, and designs in the work, and just to create beauty. He was all about creating beauty within all of his works. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm looking forward to seeing your finished works, and I'll see you next time.